one thing that I found kind of interesting was that at the beginning of each scene, there's an item of intimate apparel. And we find out later from reading that Esther is working on that intimate apparel piece for someone who wants it, or needs it. For example, the wedding corset with white satin and pink roses in scene 1, we find out that Esther is making it for her, I guess you can say friend, Karina May, for her wedding night. So I just thought that was an interesting way to tie in all the intimate apparel. And then the two values that I discovered were marriage and dreams. And marriage could be taken two ways. Esther looks at marriage as a value of love, and Mrs. Dixon looks at it as a source of money and status from your husband. And we really see that because she keeps pushing Esther's, or not Esther's, but one of the men in the hotel moved up, and now he's really like high standard for that time, and so she's trying to push him on Esther, and Esther, kind of gravitates more towards George for love. And then dreams is another value. We see dreams, Esther and Mayim. Esther has the dream of earning her own beauty parlor, and Mayim has the dream of a concert pianist. And I think that really shows that African Americans during this time were really trying to better themselves and reach higher and accomplish more. One word that I underlined was dalliance, and that means a casual relationship, and that was highlighted in the context that Mrs. Dixon didn't want Esther to have a dalliant relationship, and I think that really shows that Mrs. Dixon really thought that marriage was, not your goal. Your end goal is marriage. You shouldn't just be casually dating someone for like love. You should be dating them for marriage. And the issue of diversity, I think this play really resists the stereotypes and our understanding of African American experience. We have this stereotype, or at least people during the time the play took place have this understanding of this stereotype of African Americans, that they're violent and barbarous and uncivilized, and they're kind of lazy, they don't work, but this play resists that because it shows that African Americans do work, and not only are they working, but they're trying to better themselves and work and make enough money to move up in social class and to be successful. And it shows that African Americans they are actually people. They do have feelings, and they do want to get married and start families, and they're not just marrying necessarily for money, for status, they're marrying for love. So yeah, it shows, resists what we think of the African American experience and stereotypes, because they're hardworking, because they have dreams and values. Yes, I do think stereotypes still exist today for African Americans, and what perpetuates stereotypes is advertising, politics, news, and like novels, stories. And for an example, like on the news, if you see like a violent act conducted by an African American, like people automatically assume like all African Americans are violent, and that's not the case. And then what helps overcome stereotypes is, again, you see stories that go against the norm. So like I just gave that example of the news. What would overcome that stereotype was that you saw another story where an African American helped someone, an elderly lady, or gave someone money. They're acting civilized. So that would overcome stereotypes, is stories that go against those stereotypes. And then my two questions are, do you think Esther and Marks, I believe that's his name, Mr. Marks's relationship evolves after the play ends, and how like far do you think it evolves, and what do you think George did after Mayim and Mamie and Esther didn't answer the door? Do you think he like took action? Do you think he confronted them? What do you think? Thanks. Bye.